Mamogale on precautionary suspension too. Spokesperson Foster Mohale.
And all officials affected by the decision have been formally notified of their suspensions. In the meantime, the minister has appointed the Deputy Director General for National Health Insurance, Professor Nicholas Crisp, as Acting Director General for a period of 3 months.
Lawyers for Bellarmine Mugabe are exploring possible plea negotiations after it emerged that he and his co-accused are in South Africa illegally. The son of late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe and Tobias Matonze appeared in court today where they abandoned their bail applications. The pair was arrested in connection with the shooting of an employee at the Mugabe residence in Hyde Park last month. Defense lawyer Sinenhlanhla Mnguni says his clients may consider pleading guilty. Shoro reports.
In a dramatic turn of events, Mugabe and his co-accused who were brought to court in leg irons have also abandoned their bail application. They are expected to potentially plead guilty to some or all of the charges against them. They face 7 charges, including contravening the Immigration Act, attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, and illegal possession of a firearm. Mnguni says their illegal status in the country complicates the case.
We of course don't want to waste the court's time. We all understand the processes with regards to applying for bail and the fact that one of the averments you need to make is that you're not a flight risk. So at this point, we want to deal with the matter and its merits.
The matter has now been transferred to a trial court where details of any potential plea negotiations are expected to become clearer. Dimakato Leshoro, Eyewitness News, Alexandra Magistrates Court.
Recovery efforts for 4 remaining workers trapped underground at the Ikapa mine in the Northern Cape have hit a setback. Water inflow in the shaft where the miners were trapped after a mudslide last month continues to increase. On Monday, rescue teams recovered the body of one of the workers. Mongezi Koko reports.
Ikapa Resources and Ikapa Minerals previously indicated that it could take at least 18 months to clear the mudslide blocking access to parts of the shaft. Recovery operations are continuing alongside the formal identification process for the body that was recovered. The mine says work over the past 24 hours has been hampered by rising levels of underground water, making it more difficult for teams to reach the area where the miners are believed to be trapped. Despite these conditions, mine rescue, teams and technical specialists say they are continuing their efforts to move closer to the last known location of the workers. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
The Cape Chamber of Commerce says all shipments destined for the Middle East have been suspended at the port of Cape Town. Chamber President Jacques Moulman says shipping giant CMA CGM has ordered a local shipping agent to remove its already packed containers. He adds that exporters are also having to pay more for shipping surcharges and insurance as orders are rerouted due to the conflict in the Middle East.
Some shipping lines are raising surcharges, which will increase the cost of logistics. Fuel stocks are impacted, while most Asia-Africa routes don't rely on the Strait of Hormuz. The 3.3% of global container throughput trapped there has spiked war risk insurance.
And Greece has confirmed it will cap profit margins on gasoline and a range of food stuff for 3 months. This has been confirmed by the country's Prime Minister as the Middle East war continues to raise fears of a price surge. Tensions recently escalated in the Middle East after the US and Israel attacked Iran 2 weeks ago. This resulted in Iran embarking on retaliatory attacks in the Gulf region. The violence has resulted in challenges and movements in most parts of the Middle East. Gold is trading at $5,188.17 an ounce. The rand is at 16.37 to the dollar, 21.97 to the pound, 18.99 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $87.80 a barrel.
In Edenvale, heading towards Bedfordview, expect some delays on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Giluli's interchange, also leaving the Joburg CBD. Traffic is a bit sluggish. This is in the Selby area on the M2 westbound approaching Main Reef Road.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has placed the Director General of the Department, Dr. Sandile Buthelezi, on precautionary suspension.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7.
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good afternoon and welcome to 702 Afternoons. I'm Khomotso Modise in for Relebogile Mabotja this afternoon. It's lovely to be in your company. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got the perfect show for you this Wednesday afternoon. On the show today, we talk about performance reviews, but for friendships. Is that something that you've heard of before? And is it something that you would consider? I mean, if you're like me, you take stock of your friendships from time to time. You know, you think about them and you wonder, where am I in this friendship? But what about having performance reviews, just like we have at our places of employment? We're going to be having that conversation in just a bit. And then we talk about car ownership and debt. According to the latest data, the average South African with a vehicle finance still owes about 249,000 Rand on their car. And we speak about why ownership is pushing more South Africans into debt. That's car ownership. Then in the final hour of the show, it's our masterclass. And with Easter holidays around the corner, we're speaking about travel planning with Standard Bank Travel. Are you that friend that just knows how to plan your travel, knows how to plan the trip? And are you the person that usually takes on the responsibility because everyone thinks you know how to do it? Or are you the friend that just sits back and enjoys the work of others? We speak about travel planning, what goes into it, and how it makes your trip smoother with Standard Bank. That's the show this afternoon. On the team this afternoon, Abele is our technical producer, and the lovely Pachida is taking your calls. She's our call screener and producer of the show. Relebogile is watching the roads very closely. Mbali Dlamini has your news updates. We'd love to hear from you, so get in touch with us on 011 883 0702 or send us a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702. If you would rather get in touch with me on X, my handle is at @Motso_Modise. That's at Motso_Modise. All right, that's 702 Afternoons. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
It's 9 minutes past 1, and I'm really excited for today's show. It's lovely to be with you. It is Wednesday, so it's smack bang in the middle of the week. How are the midweek blues, keeping you? How are you doing on this Wednesday? Wednesdays are always such a weird time in the week because we're not quite at the beginning anymore, so we're not so worried about it being like a Monday, but we're not quite at the end. And you're thinking, why is there still Thursday before it's Friday? But I hope that the show does make it a little easier for you today. I really want to hear from you. How are you doing today? So something that's been on my mind is friendships. I think from time to time, I like to reflect. I like to reflect on my friendships. I like to take stock. I try to think, am I watering my friendships as I should be? And I'm the first person to admit that I don't always do a good job at watering them. I'm just very blessed to have friends who reciprocate, but also sometimes who show up better than I do. And I've been thinking, if we were to do performance reviews, so you know how we do performance reviews at work, where you've got your manager who sits there with your KPAs and says, this is what was expected of you, and this is what you did, this is what you could have done better on, this is what you could have delivered on. Should we be doing the same in our friendships? Do you think that would better the quality of our friendships if we did have performance reviews for our friends? And maybe it wouldn't be as high pressure, cutthroat, where you're sitting there and I am the manager, but because we are almost, we're equals in this friendship. It's you on the other side and me, and there's no boss or manager employee relationship, but we're holding each other to account. How do you think that would change your friendships? Do you think that it would benefit you? Are you the type of friend that never sees that maybe they are in the wrong or they could be doing better. There's people that they never realize that they could be the problem sometimes. And I think that this is the type of conversation that's going to force us to reflect and think about the type of friends that we are, which is not sometimes, it's not something that we want to do all the time. And I can tell you that, with performance reviews, another part of them is that they force you to, while you might come into contact and face the things that you're not doing so well, you also realize the things that you are doing well. And I think those that don't always go noticed, So is a performance review for friendship something that you would consider? Would you sit with your friend and have those difficult conversations to say, friend, I really wish you would show up better in this department, or I didn't like it when you did this. I would appreciate it if you did something better, or I would appreciate it if you were to just pull up your socks a bit. Watering our friendships is something that I'm not sure we take it as seriously as we should, particularly where friendships are a big part of who we are. They play a big role in our lives. Most people lean on their friends for a lot of support, and community is such an important part of our lives, So I think it would do us good. And if you are that friend, if you already have a system like that in your friendship, I really want to hear from you. How do you hold each other accountable in your friendships? Do you take stock regularly? I don't want to say confrontational because it's got the connotation that we are calling each other out for something wrong. But do you sit down regularly with your friends and say, friend, this is another year of friendship. This is our friendship anniversary. And this is what I would like us to do better, in our relationship. Or this is something that something I've seen from you, friend, that I don't really like. I want to hear from you. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. It can be a difficult conversation to have. But I suppose maybe not calling it performance reviews, but something similar to a review would do us really, really good. Someone here saying, yes, but friendships are just, they come with no expectations. And I'm not sure I agree with that. When you enter into friendships, and some of the friendships we've had them for a long time. So, we assume we're just, we're on autopilot. But I do think that there are some sort of expectations. I expect my friends to be around when I'm grieving. I expect my friends to check in because I want to check in on them quite regularly. I want to hear from them. How are you doing? What's changed in your life? I expect my friends to update me if there are developments in their lives because I do the same. So I'm not sure when it comes, to saying that there are no expectations. I think expectations are a good thing, especially in relationships that you treasure and a relationship that you take seriously. Someone else here saying, absolutely, otherwise we risk being stagnant. People help or hinder our growth, even those that we love. And this is someone who is agreeing that there should be a performance review type of structure. You know what scares me about a performance review structure in a friendship is that I'm not sure we can always take the difficult truths about ourselves when we hear them from other people. Even our friends. And that might have us leaving the conversation feeling a little awkward, and I think sometimes there's a risk of feeling like, oh, this person is sitting there with a rubric, but I do think that there must be some sort of an accountability structure when it comes to friendships. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. I want to hear from you, man. How are you going about navigating your friendships? Is this an area that you have been intentional about? Or are you those people that just go with the flow? And if the friend calls you, you then, you respond and you don't really put much thought into it. Do you feel like we're taking it far more, seriously than we should? I think friendship should be taken seriously. I really do. I'm a big fan of that because I invest in friendships, and I hope that the people, my friends, do the same, and they will reciprocate. Someone else saying a better word to use instead of watering your friendships is, how do we best cultivate and maintain friendships? Okay, I'm willing to take that. I do think that, if you do say cultivate, or if you want to say maintain, I think that the idea is the same. The idea is taking care of it, showing up for it, feeding it what it needs, which is, regular checking in. It needs attention. And I think that because I'm the first person to admit, and maybe I should be a little vulnerable, right? Because this is the type of conversation that forces us to be vulnerable when it comes to friendships. I'm the first person to admit that I haven't always been the model friend. I haven't. I haven't always been the type of person who, immediately shows up. In fact, it's come to I've thought about it that, for me, many of the friendships I have is because those people have watered the friendship more than I had. And I'm in my season now of showing up because I recognize that they have been showing up for so long. And if we were to have a performance review structure, maybe now I would do okay. But a couple of years ago, I think I wouldn't be doing too good. I don't think things would be looking good for me. In fact, maybe I would be fired. Maybe I would be placed on probation, if there was to be something like a performance review of my friendships then. Right now, maybe not the model friend, but I would definitely they would retain me in the friendship, right? The same way that they retain you at work. And I also understand that there are seasons when it comes to friendships. See, the thing about them is we cannot show up the same way all the time. And maybe that's why people are afraid of expectations that, what if I fall short? What if I don't live up to what you expect from me? I think we should understand that there are seasons when it comes to friendships. But I also do think that they must be holding each other accountable to an extent, especially people that just cruise through friendships. Do you have a friend like that who just doesn't show up, and you're the one that's always putting in the effort? That must be really, really tiring. I'm not sure that's a friendship I would want to stay in, but I do think that I've been that friend once upon a time.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Relebogile was speaking at a conference. Now, I have a few things that I take issue with what he said. Number one, you don't come to our country and tell us that you don't care what our courts say. In this country, we respect the judiciary. So I find his comment that he doesn't care what the courts say about the Dubuli Bunu song arrogant. I find it to be disrespectful to our institutions. Does that mean that he can't disagree with our courts? No, it doesn't mean that. In fact, he can say that he holds a different view to what our courts have ruled around the song. But you cannot say to your hosts, you don't care what their courts say. I think this conduct is undiplomatic.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's summer season continues with a superb program under the baton of Maestro Daniel Boyko, featuring violinist Zanta Hofmeyer performing Mendelssohn's most beloved violin concerto and soprano, Sipokazi Maphumulo, and the Gauteng's choristers performing Bessie's thrilling Rise of the Hunter. This concert is not to be missed. Thursday, the 12th of March at 7:30 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets available on Quicket.
More than 5,700 cases of cervical cancer are reported in South Africa each year. Sadly, more than 3,000 women in our country die from this disease annually. But there is hope. We have intensified the war against this deadly disease. Over the past few years, more than 3.6 million girls have benefited from the HPV vaccination program that protects them from cervical cancer. We are accelerating this program to ensure that millions more of our young girls are protected from this preventable disease. The success of this campaign depends on collaboration among all stakeholders, especially parents and caregivers who are required to give consent for their daughter to participate in the vaccination program. For more information, visit your nearest healthcare facility. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The structure you have now, a few months in, are you satisfied it's the correct one? You're not looking at making any major changes?
What I promised the board when I joined ABSA is that I want to make sure that by the time I retire, the organization has succession options, which means then that the caliber of the people that I appoint must be such that they can succeed me.
Kenny Fechler, the Group CEO at ABSA.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. Trade powers Africa's growth, and businesses that succeed are those able to manage risk, optimize liquidity, and move confidently across markets. ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking helps enable your trade flows for growth. ABSA is a registered FSP. T's and C's apply.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
It's 7:02 afternoons. My name is Khomotso Modisa. I'm in for Relebogile Mabotja. We're talking about friendships and whether performance reviews are necessary in your friendships. Is that something that you've considered? How would you go about doing that? Let's take a voice note.
Hi, Motso. Oh, what a great topic when it comes to friendship performance reviews. I think with friendship performance reviews, we are always doing the checks and balances when it comes to that. I mean, if you have people around you that are constantly always there, whether you're celebrating your ups or whether you're down, by default, they check out when it comes to your performance review tick box. But then you'll also have those people that, you would feel like they are constantly always taking from you and you are not receiving anything back. By default, again, you will obviously do your checks and balances when it comes to their performance. And that's why then we end up having best friends and stuff like that. And I think everybody has a best friend for different things. I think people have best friends when it comes to people that you can talk to and you can rely on and you know that your secrets are safe. And you'll have a best friend when it comes to finances. And you'll always have a best friend when it comes to miscellaneous things as well. So I think when it comes to friendship performance reviews, we are constantly doing those without us being aware of it. Lebo from Vereniging. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Lebo. You're right. And I'm also realizing that whenever I take the time, because I do take stock when it comes to friendships, I suppose that is a review. Maybe my friends don't know that they are being reviewed, Maybe they don't know that I'm sitting there thinking, when I label, what do I think about how you've done as a friend? But I suppose there is that review process that we go through whenever we reflect on our friendships. And I think that when we don't do the quote unquote review, we risk not realizing, that maybe there's a problem here. Oftentimes it takes your partner or another friend or someone else or your mother, people will say mothers are always correct when it comes to friends, saying, I'm not sure about that friend of yours. But when we don't sit down and review our friendships, I think then sometimes it takes the other person who's watching externally, who's not in the friendship, to actually say to you, listen, I'm not sure about that friendship of yours, right? I think either way, whether or not we add the review tag or name to it, reviewing is important. Sitting down and saying, am I still, I don't want to say benefiting, because that makes it sound like, this is you, but you should be benefiting and they should be benefiting from you too. But does this friendship still serve me? Yes, I think that's better language. Does this friendship still serve me? And am I showing up, as well as the other person is showing up? Or am I doing a little more? And maybe that shouldn't be a reason for you to tap out, but it might be a reason to find out from the friend, I've been calling you so many times. I've been showing up for you when you've been struggling, but I don't feel like you're reciprocating the same energy. And that may prompt a conversation, and you might find out things that you didn't even know, about what your friend is going through. But yes, I do think that we do go through reviews even without knowing it. Someone here on the WhatsApp line says, hi, Khomotso, no more performance reviews for me. I'm tired of always being the one to mollycoddle friends. I just move on and do me. Sometimes putting oneself first is the best remedy. I agree with that, except sometimes you're going to lose a good friendship because you just didn't want to check in. Sometimes you'll lose a good friendship. Sometimes you lose someone who was actually in your corner because you didn't want to say, hey, I'm worried about what's going on here. And if you just did that, then you may have found out that, the next person may really be struggling. And I know that sometimes, especially in the world that we live in, that is extremely self-centered. The world can be very, very self-centered, where I must take care of my needs. I must show up for myself. I must do better for me. But what friendship does is that it forces you to show up for other people as well. It forces you to say, okay, yeah, maybe I don't like always being the friend that's checking in, but I'm going to do it because I recognize that this is a good friend and that person might just be going through something difficult at this stage. I think the saying, I just do me and I'm going to continue, sometimes can cost you a good relationship. 011-883-0702 072 702-1702. That's the WhatsApp line. Get in touch with me. I want to hear from you. Maybe I'm a softie when it comes to these friendship things. Someone else here saying, hi, Khomotso. Friendship reviews, as you put it, well, there's one aspect that I think Africans, that's black folks, he says, at large need to pull up their socks on, and it's time. Punctuality speaks volumes to me, and I don't subscribe to African time, period. Oh, why do I feel like I am being dragged today? Do I feel confronted? Yes, the issue around time is such an important part of friendship. When you don't respect your friend's time, that can be seen as the message that you don't value the friendship. And being the friend who's always late is also a sign of disrespect, and always laughing about it can be seen as a sign of disrespect. And I'm not sure we want to have that conversation, and we're ready for that conversation. But sometimes your actions say more. And that's what would go into the review. I think on my rubric, I would also have that. Even though I'm I can be the suspect in this, and I struggle when it comes to time sometimes. And, I'll show up an hour late. Okay, maybe not an hour, maybe 15, 20 minutes late. So I do feel confronted here. But I do think on a rubric, I would add time. Do you come on time? Do you show up when you're required to show up? Let's take another voice note.
Komozo, not the kind of friends that I have. You never see them in a long time. And even when you try to arrange a get together, a visit, they always up in arms, pretending they're so busy, they can't meet, they don't have a chance to come meet, and so on. But come rainy days, they only remember me when they need something. And those friends, they'll know that what they're doing is wrong. They haven't spoken to you in 6 years. But then they will send a message, hi, how are you? Yeah, long time. Hi. And then the following day, they will send another message. 800, 25. These are the kind of friends that I have, and I have evaluated over the past 10 years, and I'm good.
Yeah, no, 10 years. 10 years is a long period in terms of evaluation. It's a long period. I think now you know the type of friends you have. Yeah, there's nothing worse than that long time text. It's, hey, man, long time. Eh? Hey, man, yeah, hey, I just thought I should check in. Then you give it an hour or give it 20 minutes. Then they come and tell you what they actually want from you. Can I just, borrow 200 rand from you? If the long time text comes in the middle of the month, you just know it's got to do with money. No, I think you know now the type of friends that you have. We continue with this conversation after the news headlines. Bali Zamin is standing by. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has placed Director General Sandile Buthelezi on precautionary suspension. Earlier this month, Buthelezi and 2 other officials were arrested and charged with fraud and theft of money allocated to the country by the Global Fund. They face charges totaling more than 1 million rand linked to the irregular appointment of companies to chair a disciplinary hearing. A memorial service is underway in Soweto for late politician and struggle stalwart Musiwa Lekota. The 77-year-old anti-apartheid activist died last week after a long illness. Lekota served as the leader of COPE, a party that he helped to form after breaking away from the ANC. And Greece has confirmed it will cap profit margins on gasoline and a range of other foodstuff for 3 months. This has been confirmed by the country's Prime Minister as the Middle East war continues to raise fears of a price surge. Tensions recently escalated in the Middle East after the US and Israel attacked Iran 2 weeks ago. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Centurion, heading into the Pretoria CBD, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 northbound approaching Weerde Road. There's also slow-moving traffic. That's if you are heading into Bedfordview on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Gilulies interchange. Leaving the Joburg CBD, also traffic a bit sluggish on the M2 westbound approaching Main Reef Road, and look out for those faulty traffic lights. That's in Lone Hill at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
This is Kabele from Pretoria. About illiteracy and children reading for meaning. In my practice as an optometrist, during an eye test for children, I usually prefer not to use alphabets because of you think the child can't see, only to find out they are in grade 2, but they can't still identify alphabets. Grade 2 and sometimes even grade 3, they can identify alphabets.
Isn't that absolutely frightening? Are you telling me there are children walking around with spectacles who possibly don't need them, but got them because they didn't know how to read, and everybody thought they couldn't see? I can see it perfectly.
You just don't know.
They just can't read it. That is extraordinary.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Celebrate the power of African storytelling. Join Freedom Park in collaboration with the South African State Theatre for the 13th Ungasali Storytelling Festival on the 14th of March 2026 at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria. Experience powerful performances through poetry, theatre, music, and traditional storytelling as we celebrate the voices and stories that shape our heritage. Tickets are available at Web Tickets for 150 Rand. The Ungasali Storytelling Festival, where African stories come alive. Don't miss it.
Looking to upgrade your office furniture this year? Desk and Chair, the direct office furniture manufacturer, has a deal you don't want to miss. Get 5% cash back towards your existing office furniture with all purchases over 350,000 Rand. Contact Desk and Chair now for more info. Visit our newly renovated showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better. T's and C's apply.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. This is 702 Afternoons. I'm Komatso Modise in for Relebogile Mabotja. We're speaking about friendships and whether you think performance reviews are necessary in your friendships. Is that something that you've considered? Is it something that you are doing? Let's take some voice notes.
Hi, Komatso. I've done my friendship reviews, and I can tell you all the umbilical cords are cut off. Yeah, in your interpretation, it would mean that they are dismissed, fired. Because, right now, my best friend is my colleague, as well as my partner. Those two people, those are my best friends. So besides them, my best friend is my sister, and nieces, they're my best friend. Otherwise, those ones, umbilical cord is gone.
Moto, my girlfriend is my best friend. Though sometimes we fight, she knows what I know about her. I know what she knows about me.
Hi.
Yeah. The thing is, what we fight most about is time. Time. Mozo, we've got 1 o'clock appointment. She'll show up at 2:45. Yo.
Yeah, Ish, I just want to plead on her behalf. Just be patient. Tell her though. I think you should be honest with her. Or no, you need to do better. But Ish, as a chronic latecomer, actually a recovering chronic latecomer, because I'm doing better now. I'm showing up better. I try. Please just bear with her and continue to just help her through this difficult habit that she has. It is a sign of disrespect. Someone actually said to me, "Khumzo, if you don't come on time, I feel disrespected." And I took that so personally because disrespect is a heavy word. But I want to go back to the guy who was speaking about how his friend is only his partner, his colleague, and only those people, right? And I hope I have the right words for this, but I worry when it comes to people who only have friendships that where there's no real choice, like there's no effort, that much of an effort. And I say this, what I mean by that is, for example, when it comes to a colleague, we're going to be at work, Vele, I'm going to see you. So I'm not really putting much effort into watering this friendship. The real test becomes if the colleague, if you separate, someone leaves the places of that job, right? Then the question is, was that person really your friend, or was it a friendship of convenience? I worry about people who can't maintain and keep friendships outside of the ones that they must have. Like with your sibling, you must be friends with your sibling. Yes, I know some people have difficult relationships with their siblings, but generally you must try get along with your sibling. I think it says a lot about you if you can't water and maintain a friendship with a person that you don't necessarily see every day, a person that you're not forced to be in a friendship with. I hope that makes sense to you. I worry about that because it means there's a problem somewhere there. And I don't want to diagnose, but there's a problem. If I can't take care of a friendship of someone who lives, maybe we might be both in Joburg, but, I must make the effort to see them, then, maybe you're not doing enough when it comes to your friendships. I'm seeing many of your voice notes coming in. I also see your messages on Facebook. Thank you so much for responding. Thank you so much for weighing in. I think we should take more voice notes.
Hi, Khumata and fellow listeners. I think we've become such a strict generation. I think we have become so strict with our friendships, with our families, with our romantic relationships. And I feel like I've gotten to a point where sometimes I question how strict we've become. Yes, be strict with yourself and be strict with your time and be strict with what your absolute deal breakers are, but we forget that our friends, our families, our romantic partners are humans too, and we lack communication. And instead of reaching out and hearing out what the other person is going through, we tend to just cut them off because of simply, I come first. These are my boundaries. I feel like we've just become a little bit too strict.
Yeah. No, thank you for that voice note. It's definitely something to think about. And I think, oftentimes the people that are very strict with their friends are not very strict with their romantic partners. I think they can allow a romantic partner to walk all over them. But when it comes to their friends, if you don't do this, I'm going to cut you off. And I think that that's something worth thinking about. I do think that there's a lot more. I think we've got the language for it now. I'm thinking back to times when I was a child and, my grandmother would counsel me about friendships. I don't think she had the same language, but she meant the same thing. So when she would say, be careful, or, I'm a little worried about that friendship, she didn't necessarily have the language that we use now around accountability. And, she couldn't verbalize it in that way. But I think that's what she meant. She meant show up for those who show up for you. I'm not sure that's a lesson that I still live by. I think that I've grown up to understand that I might not be able to show up sometimes. And I appreciate those who were able to show up for me when I couldn't show up for them and when I couldn't show up for myself. Because the truth is, friendships are there to grow us and to almost, I don't know, I think that's the Sesotho word, right? And help me with how to to put that. But really, it's to cover up our our wrongs and our flaws. Because sometimes we're not the best of people, but a good friend will shield and cover those things up and say, you know what? Yes, Khumzo, is not doing the best, but she's my friend. And in this season, I'm going to show up for her. And yeah, that's really where I am currently, in how I think about my friendships. I don't think about them as transactions, because if you do that, then you're going to lose a lot of friendships. You're going to cut a lot of people off. I think about them as I need to be the best friend that I can be right now. And I appreciate the people that have been friends to me when I wouldn't have befriended myself. And I try to do the same with them. I think we can take one last voice note.
Komotso Modise, Iskatleho Modise here. You know, me and my friends have this rule. Okay, we have a book of rules. And out of this book of rules that we made, rule number 1 is you never give anybody another friend's number. Never, never. No matter the circumstances, even if you are paid 2 billion, we're gonna counter that offer. Not literally. But the reason for this is because, you know, if somebody does not have your number, it's for a reason. And even if you were best friends with that somebody, you were very close classmates, whatever the reason might be, if at that stage they would be asking for your number and they do not have your number, you know that is for a good reason. And they only ask for that number because at that present moment, there's something that they need from you. And I don't like those kinds of friends. Just like you were saying, when you get that text in the middle of the month from a person you haven't spoken to in 15 years, you know.
Yeah. With me regarding this friendship assessment, let me admit I've got a weakness. I've got a friend, a very good friend of me, that who always checks up on me. He really checks up on me. Every morning, good morning, my friend. Tomorrow you will do the same. But with me, I'm not good. You know, I wish, that I'm not good at texting or calling. I'm not good at that one. But I just want to appreciate what this radio that my friend does. This is Tsepo in Soweto. He's a very good friend of mine who always checks up on me. But I don't do it. Not intentionally, but I'm not good at doing it. I wish I could know how to do it at the same. I appreciate my friend Tsepo. Thank you so much. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much for that voice note. Yeah, I hope that you use this as your performance review session, because now you know and you can recognize that you're not doing right by Tsepo. And you also it sounds to me like you want to show up for Tsepo. Also, you want to check in on him as he does. You want to, as I say, water that friendship. Do that. Please do it. And you're very, very blessed to have a friend that still does that and, you know, regularly checks in even when you don't. Don't take that for granted.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
In response to recent attacks, Iran targeted key U.S. bases across the Middle East. This had a knock-on effect on the Strait of Hormuz, where ships carrying refined petroleum to South Africa face major disruptions, leaving the Republic facing possible fuel price shocks with potential spikes of between 5 and 8 rand per litre. However, the Department of Mineral Resources says there's no need to panic, citing contact with local oil companies and flat out saying there's no immediate risk.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
For many women, a CV often becomes a list of qualifications, titles, and experience, while the strengths that shape real success remain overlooked. Empathy, resilience, and the ability to lift others. Momentum's She Owns Her Success campaign celebrates these invisible success codes, the qualities that may not appear on a traditional CV, but leave a lasting mark. Using Momentum's AI-powered CV builder, women can now bring those strengths to life. Visit sheownshersuccess.co.za and build a CV that reflects the fullness of who you are.
Look at camouflage, Dorf. I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car. Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Dorf. I sit in the driver's seat, baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy. Could do with more legroom, Dorf. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at WeBuy Cars. They got great deals. Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be Dorf, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
702 Finance Feature.
Welcome back. This is 7:02 afternoons, and it's time for the finance feature. Now, this finance feature is brought to you by Stanlib Asset Management. Invest in more. And today we're speaking about South Africans and car debt. You know, it's an important conversation because, quite frankly, I think too many of us struggle with car debt. And recent data is really telling when it comes to debt. Now, according to the latest data, the average South African with vehicle finance still owes around 249,000 Rand on their car. And collectively, motorists are carrying over 541 billion Rand in vehicle debt. That's across 2.17 million vehicle finance accounts. I suppose that speaks to just how South Africans are doing when it comes to debt and their vehicles. For more on that conversation, we're speaking to Wynand van Vieren, who's a client experience partner at King Price Insurance. Wynand, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Khmoto.
I suppose the first question really is, why are we seeing more South Africans falling into debt because of car ownership? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I see. So what we've seen is, I think the biggest problem is that people don't take everything into account. You know, that comes, all the expenses that comes with a car. And you know, then later you when you find out, you realize that you've over budgeted with, you know, with the new car that you bought. And then that's when people are caught out, you know, that they can't afford the vehicle anymore.
So I suppose some of the biggest mistakes that people make is what they don't consider petrol, they don't consider maintenance. Is that really what it's about?
Yeah, you know, so you can't just think that, you know, you've got 10,000 Rand a month or 5,000 Rand a month for that vehicle, and now go and search for those that you like, and then pick the one, you know, where the installment is going to come to that budget of yours of 10,000 Rand, for example.
Yeah.
Because what comes thereafter is the insurance. You know, one cannot afford, even if you buy a cheaper car, you know, which you think maybe, listen, if the car's damaged, I'll repair it myself. I'm not going to get insurance on it. You always got that legal liability exposure, you know, for damage that you can do to someone else's car or to the state's property or so. People don't always understand that. So what I always advise is, you know, go and look at your budget, but then include in your budget what that full comprehensive insurance is going to be. Then you know that premium, that monthly premium. Then you know that you can afford that. And to take the fuel price, we are seeing now, you know, with what's going on with the war, and so the oil price going up.
Yeah.
There's a very big increase coming now in 3 weeks' time on the petrol price. It looks like diesel is going to go up with over 5 Rand per litre. So will you still then? That's going to be what, 25% more or less on the diesel price now. So can you still afford that then? You know, if you with your normal monthly travel. So take that fuel into consideration. Take your maintenance on the vehicle, your tires. That's going to have to be replaced more or less here in 30,000 kilometers. Take all of that into account and then do your budget. And I then say, listen, then still go and only spend 60% of the budget. Yeah. Because you know that if something happens and you're in an accident, can you afford that excess, you know, on the repairs that you're always going to have to pay? Yeah. So people don't take all of that into account and then find themselves. And that's why the debt busters and the debt counseling companies are currently concerned and say, listen, they see people, many that are completely over budgeted on the vehicles.
And how much of the problem is actually around the financial requirements? You know, you'll often hear people saying, it's so much easier to qualify for a car than a house, for example. And someone can be earning, you know, for example, 10,000 Rand and still qualify for a vehicle that costs them, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 Rand in terms of installment. So how much of the problem is it around financial requirements and the fact that people get approved for cars that they essentially can't afford?
I think that's a big part. You know, there is regulation on it, but you know, the finance houses and so, you know, one must always be careful. You know, that someone gives his full picture, and that the advice that you give, before you give a finance like that is actually taken into account. I see so many people that's got the insurance in place, but what happens now is when the vehicle is stolen or written off, there's that shortfall. So your insurance cover the car for the retail value, but with your finance company, you still owe another 20 or 30,000 rand on top of the value of the vehicle. So they actually, that's another problem. Now, your vehicle is written off or stolen, your insurance company is going to pay the full retail value, like in Price Do. We pay the full retail value out. But you have to advise as well, but people don't understand that there can be a financial shortfall, which you can also insure. That's 30 or 40,000 rand that will still be a shortfall at the bank. Make sure that is included in your insurance, that your insurance company is going to pay that as well. And then, you'll be able to afford a new car. So, those are those little things that people don't always understand, and which I think we should educate and make sure, that everyone knows about it, that you go into that budget, make sure that you rather go for 60% of what you think you have and have it ready. Something else that we see is that most insurance policies require your vehicle to always be in a roadworthy condition. So now what we see, and especially in these fuel increases and when people can't afford their vehicles anymore, that they don't follow the maintenance intervals. There's a delay in the vehicle maintenance. Now it's a requirement in every insurance policy that your vehicle must be in a roadworthy condition. Now your tires are not in a roadworthy condition anymore. You can find yourself in an accident where that those wheels contributed to the accident, or it could have been avoided if you had it right. And then there's going to be problems when you have to claim. I suggest, in times like this, when the fuel price is going up, if you're under pressure, don't go and cancel your insurance policy. Rather phone your insurer and say, listen, what is the alternative that I have? I'm going to be in need of cash for a few months. What cheaper options are there that you can maybe still have your third-party cover in place, that you can still have if the vehicle is financed, it must always be comprehensive. So there you also have to speak to the finance house. But there might be alternatives that you can rather go and make sure that you can save some money.
Yeah. Venant, when I bought my first car, a piece of advice that I was given was, don't get a balloon payment. I was told don't do it. And I was told that if you need a balloon payment, that means you can't afford the car. So just wait. How much of that is also a contributing factor? Where people really, when you can't afford the car, then you opt for what seems like an easier option in getting the balloon payment, but you don't really think about the end result.
Yeah, so you see, the thing is, you're in need of sound financial advice. Because how nice is it going to be, if you've paid your vehicle now for 50 or 60 months, and then thereafter it becomes yours, and you've at least paid for a car that's paid off now. You've got that extra money with those balloon payments, and so you never get to a point, where the car is now yours. So I'll never recommend that. I agree with you. I feel if you have to go in that direction, then you can't afford the vehicle. So and then there's alternatives. Why not buying a new vehicle? We've just listened before. I came up, of there's We Buy Cars that you can go to and find, reliable second-hand vehicles. There's other second-hand vehicle dealerships. That and buying a second-hand vehicle has got its own challenges again. They always say, and I should quickly mention it, you can take it to a roadworthy center that can go through the car and see that everything is 100% before you buy it. You don't only have to take the dealer's a word for it. There's a motor ombudsman that can assist if there's problems, in the first few months, and you realize that you've been sold a dud. But there's alternatives. Don't go and buy such expensive vehicles. And now in these times where we see the fuel price increases, we don't know what's going to happen. I'll also go for something that's going to be light. If you can afford a hybrid or electric vehicle, that's starting to look a lot more affordable, and maybe over the long run more affordable fuel-wise, definitely fuel-wise. But there's alternatives, and one should consider all of those options, before you take the decision just to go and buy a expensive new car that's going to cost you a lot of money later.
Yeah. Someone here saying, potholes made me sell my car. I was told tire replacements take place every 4 years. I've been replacing tires every quarter. That's 10,000 Rand on tires every quarter. How absurd. And this is a reality that many of us who are living in Joburg in particular must be considering. Now we're factoring in the tires quite a bit.
Yeah, and the thing is, people are uninformed. Again, like at King Price also, we have a product where you can insure your tires and your rims, and you have to have it in place with these roads of ours. So then it's a small excess that you pay, and the insurance replace your tire if you went through a pothole now, and also the damage to your rim. Then you got it in cover. Because otherwise, if you've got a 4,500 or a 5,000 Rand excess on your insurance, under the normal comprehensive insurance, then that damage to your tire might only be 2,000 Rand. So then, the damage falls within the excess, and you're going to have to pay it yourself. But with a tire and rim cover, you again have a small excess, a few hundred Rand that you're out of pocket, but the insurance repair your rim and your tire. So people must go and find out, what products are out there like that, where it's going to cost you a few Rand a month, but you've got that cover in place, and you won't find yourself with a car, without a wheel, and you can't use it anymore.
All right, we're speaking about vehicles and why it feels like car ownership is pushing South Africans further and further into debt. Let's take some voice notes.
Hi, Homozo. Interesting topic on this car finance story. I'm a rep, so I'm always on the road. I want to know from your guest, is it advisable for me to get a balloon payment, because I do so much mileage? So every 3 years, I'll probably get a new car. So is it okay if I get a balloon payment, because I'm not going to fully pay off the car? I hope that makes sense. This is pulling in the bar. Thank you.
Okay, Vaynant, there's an example, but I suppose Puleng's situation is very specific. It's a little different. She travels a whole lot, and she's going to be changing her car really regularly. Should she get a balloon payment?
Well, I never recommend that. I say so. It's something different if it's if the vehicle is in a business, and you've got benefit on through the business and the finance there. But otherwise, I say I won't recommend that. But rather, it's much better. Pay for it for the 5 years, and it's yours, and you can trade that whole vehicle in on the new one. Will at the end of the day, be a lot better for you. But if you use it like that and you don't feel that like the balloon payment at the end of the time, if you have to settle another 20 or 30 or 50,000 Rand at the end of the finance period, and you can afford that, then you can go for that option if it's going to make your monthly budget now easier. But I say that should be last option.
And I suppose the thing about it is you really don't know what your financial position will be 4 or 5 years later. There's no real way of telling if you'll be able to pay that amount, right?
Yeah, and that's why I say, it's, for me, rather go for, something a little bit cheaper, or that's going to be a little bit more economical, in a monthly period. And then that you don't have to pay that balloon, and the vehicle will be yours at the end of that period.
Fernand, for listeners who are thinking of buying a car right now, what are the key financial checks that they should be doing and considering before signing that finance agreement?
Well, so if you buy new, it's a lot easier. It comes with, no pressure in the first maybe 100,000 kilometers on your service intervals and so on. And that you buy a product that is in perfect condition. For me, that's a lot easier buy if you consider everything that comes, all the other costs and fuel costs and consumption. And you can afford it. It's going to be an easy buy. If you go and you buy secondhand, a lot more things that you have to check. Make sure it's a reputable dealer. Go and read up on what other people said, that dealt with that specific dealer in the past. Make sure that you get a very clever eye on that vehicle that can see if it's been in accidents before. You can also contact the manufacturer to find out, do you have any information that parts have been ordered for this car before? The different manufacturers can give you that information, and take it in any event.
Yeah.
Take it to a test station that can go through the vehicle for you and say, listen, we can see previous accident damage here that wasn't properly repaired.
Yeah.
It's a risk to buy this vehicle. Go through all of those things if you buy secondhand. Make sure that the car that you buy is affordable and in a very good condition, and you know you're going to have peace of heart. And then get the proper comprehensive cover on your vehicle. Make sure you can afford that insurance, that you pay that first every month to know, because you can't pay your insurance if you've fallen behind a month or two, backwards, retrospectively. You will not have cover for those months that you've missed. And I've seen it so many times. People pay religiously for a few months.
Yeah.
They skip a few months. Accident happened when your car's stolen, and then the insurer is not liable to settle that claim. And then, you sit with that debt for another 5 years or how long it's remaining, and you don't have a car.
All right, that's Venan van Vuren. He's a client experience partner at King Price Insurance. Thank you so much for your time. More isn't just a word. It's a Stanlib Asset Management's commitment to doing better every day for our clients. It's about investing to create futures, finding opportunities in uncertainty, and delivering on promises, because better starts with more. Stanlib Asset Management invests in more to give investors data-led insights that transform portfolios, build for a changing world, and performance you can trust. Stand-up Asset Management. Invest in more. It's a touch after 2.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has placed Director General Sandile Buthelezi on precautionary suspension. Earlier this month, Buthelezi and 2 other officials were arrested and charged with fraud and theft of money allocated to the country by the Global Fund. They face charges totaling more than 1 million rand linked to the irregular appointment of companies to chair a disciplinary hearing. The service providers were paid with money intended to support training and outbreak responses. The minister has also placed Deputy Director for Hospital Services Percy Mahlati and the Chief Financial Officer Pashwa Mamohale on precautionary suspension. Spokesperson Foster Mohale.
And all officials affected by the decision have been formally notified of their suspensions. In the meantime, the minister has appointed the Deputy Director General for National Health Insurance, Professor Nicholas Crisp, as Acting Director General for a period of 3 months.
Suspended head of organised crime at the SAPS, Richard Shibiri, says he never belonged to any factions within the leadership of the police service. Testifying at the Madlanga Commission today, Shibiri says he is aware of factional battles within the SAPS. One faction is said to be led by National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola, while the other is said to be led by his deputy, Shadrack Sibia. WhatsApp chats before the commission today show Shibiri regularly exchanged negative news articles about officers in the Masemola camp with his buddy and colleague Sergeant Fani Nkosi.
For the 38 years I had in the police, I never belonged to any faction. And I will never belong to a faction now because I'm about to exit. And I sent one positive one to say a person who seemed to be a menace is arrested. I think it is positive. But the others, I didn't have anything to send about them.
A memorial service is underway in Soweto for late politician and struggle stalwart Mosiwa Lekota. The 77-year-old died last week after a long illness. Lekota served as the leader of COPE, a party that he helped to form after breaking away from the ANC. Mongezi Koko reports.
Known to many as Mosiwa Terra Lekota, he played a prominent role in South Africa's politics, serving as Free State Premier and later as Minister of Defence during his time in the ANC. Fellow struggle comrades and various political leaders have arrived at the Regina Mundi Church in Soweto, including ANC Deputy Secretary General Nomvula Mokonyane, former Minister Naledi Pandor, and Joburg Mayor Tata Morero to pay their respects. Inside the church, mourners are visibly emotional as they remember a man many describe as a fearless voice during the apartheid struggle. COPE Gauteng leader Tom Mofokeng says Lekota's legacy will be measured by his courage.
We are reminded that the lives of men such as Ntatel Mosiwa Patrick Lekota
future cannot be measured merely by the years they lived. They are measured by the courage they showed.
Another memorial service is expected to take place in Bloemfontein tomorrow, with a state funeral planned for Saturday. Monge Ziko, Go Eyewitness News.
The EFF says its pickets at the Constitutional Court calling for the release, of the Palapala Farm judgment are not electioneering ploys. The party took the matter to the Apex Court last year following Parliament's dismissal of a report that found that the President may have committed a violation of the Constitution. The matter relates to large sums of foreign currency found at the President's Limpopo farm in 2020. The EFF then embarked on a march earlier today, something that they committed to do every month until the release of the report. Gauteng EFF spokesperson Dumisani Baleni says every institution in the country must work for the people, which is why they keep putting pressure on the courts.
It speaks to impeachment, which means that if found guilty, the president, there may be a process of his removal.
He adds that the matter is not personal, but about upholding the constitution of the country.
Speaks to the principles that must be applied in the whole country, and that if you can't hold the president accountable, then you won't be able to hold the premier, then the mayor, and then the councillor, and the next thing is we are living in a very broken society.
And Greece has confirmed it will cap profit margins on gasoline and a range of foodstuff for 3 months. This has been confirmed by the country's Prime Minister as the Middle East war continues to raise fears of a price surge. Tensions recently escalated in the Middle East after the US and Israel attacked Iran 2 weeks ago. This resulted in Iran embarking on retaliatory attacks in the Gulf region. The violence has resulted in challenges in movement in most parts of the Middle East. Gold is trading at $5,188.17 an ounce. The rand is at 16.37 to the dollar, 21.97 to the pound, 18.99 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $87.80 a barrel.
Leaving Brakpan, heading towards Benoni, there's slow-moving traffic on Rangeview Road between Dube and Tom Jones. Look out for those faulty traffic lights. In Rand Park Ridge at Bayers Nordeen, the N1 traffic lights still not working. In Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road and the N1.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has placed Director General Sandile Buthelezi on precautionary suspension.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. It's 9 minutes past 2 right here on 702 Afternoons. My name is Komata Modise. I'm in for Relebogile Mabotja this afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got just under an hour together. And I want to refer you to the 702, the Prime Media Plus app and 702's YouTube channel. If you missed the conversations in the first hour, they should all be there uploaded for you to listen to and to share. All right, in the next hour, we're going to be talking about traveling. And listen, I'm always excited to speak about travel and how, travel can be made easier for me. It's that time of the year. It's almost the Easter holidays. And many of us are planning a short break. But where do you even start? And how do you make planning easier for you? It's our masterclass. And for that conversation, we've got Standard Bank at Travel. And we've got Nisibana Shika, who's the head of product management in studio. Get in touch with us. If you're the friend that's always doing the planning, and putting trips together. I want to hear from you about how this product can help you better plan your travel. But also, what are some of the ways that you go about making planning your trips easier? I need those tips from you as I plan my next trip. The number to dial if you want to weigh in is 011 883 0702. Alternatively, send us a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702.
702
Masterclass.
It's time for the masterclass, and we're speaking about travel this afternoon. So it's that time of the year. It's the Easter holidays are just around the corner. In fact, it's so surprising to me always to realize just how far we've gone in the year. The year is literally running, and many of us are planning trips. You want that short-term break, that little break that you take at this time of the year. Nothing, massive, nothing big, but it's also something that you want to be memorable. You're spending money on it, so you want the experience to be a good one for you. The masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja is brought to you by Standard Bank Travel. And download the Standard Bank app and book your next trip via Standard Bank Travel. Standard Bank Travel is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider, and they're here today to help us make sense of it all, and also just to talk us through some of the travel benefits from Standard Bank Travel. Joining me in studio is the head of product management, Lisibana Ashika. Lisibana, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, Khomotso, and your listeners, and thank you for having me. I always say when I come to 702, it's a beautiful day outside. It's a good day to talk travel with Standard Bank.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. You know, when I read about this and I saw the word planning next to travel, I thought, okay, this is great, because I love, and I think many people like to go on holiday. We like to travel. We're always thinking about the next, big trip. Even when you're currently on a trip, you're thinking about the next one. But many people like me just don't like the planning element, right? You don't want to have to book things. You don't want to have to put things in a row, but they must be done. And I suppose that's where you come in.
True. I mean, so as Standard Bank, and as you may know, we have launched a travel platform. We call it Standard Bank Travel. And one of the things that Standard Bank Travel does for us, to your point, is that in the past, clients would have to go look at different airlines' websites to try and get a good deal for their travel.
Yeah.
With Standard Bank Travel, we bring all of that together in one platform, any airline, and we give you discounts up to 40% off. And those discounts would apply over and above whatever discount you may receive from the airline in itself. And we give you your air miles as well, so you don't lose out. So just because you're not on that specific airline's page, you're not losing out on the air miles. You continue to earn those air miles.
Okay, that really sounds great. I want to go through the different elements, so the specific elements that I'm getting from Standard Bank Travel. I open the app, because that's where you find it. And then what do I do, and where do I go to find all of this?
So it is pretty simple. If you haven't already added it on, we've got an add-on store in our app for whatever. So you can customize our app, and let me put it that way. Our app is customizable to how you want to use it.
Yeah.
And the Standard Bank travel tile is easily found in the add-on store. You would add it, click on it, and immediately you would see what your tier level is, what you qualify for, and the booking journey starts there. It's your typical booking journey. You go in there, you start choosing whether you want economy or premium or even business class, how many travelers you want to travel with, as well as your destinations, and as to whether they're one way or return.
And is this specifically for Standard Bank clients? So must I already have a Standard Bank account, or can I just come for this travel benefit?
This is specifically for Standard Bank clients. We do want to reward our clients. We believe they are loyal to us, and this is just one of the ways in which we give back to them.
All right, so that means then, listen, if you want to take cash in on these, get yourself a Standard Bank account. And it's any Standard Bank account. So it can be an entry-level account, a basic savings account. Can I get these benefits?
It's an entry-level account. What we call these accounts, we call them bundled accounts. So this is where you've got a check account and a credit card with us. So those kind of accounts, right from your entry-level to your affluent or premium private banking accounts, have got access to this.
And of course, this is, it's Easter time. People are going to be traveling quite a bit. What are some of the trends that you're seeing now? I mean, I'd imagine more of your clients, more people are knocking on your door right now. But what are you seeing during this period?
Khomotso, I think let me start by saying I'm from Limpopo.
Oh wow! So
And
you're the problem there on the N1.
You know that.
It's you there parking there at the
Precisely,
at the toll gate.
precisely, and I mean we all know, you know what happens on that road.
Yes,
And
yes.
you can drive to Polokwane can take you about 6 hours.
Mm.
You know, whereas you can just get on a plane and you'd be there in a much shorter period than a time where there's no traffic. So in fact, we looked at a Yoko report that was published late last year. And one of the things that it reported is that Limpopo is possibly the second highest, has the second highest volume of travel.
Yes.
The first, which you will not believe, is the Eastern Cape.
Oh.
So
yeah, I'd imagine like maybe a Cape
like
Town.
Cape Town and Durban,
yes.
and the like. No, it's the Eastern Cape number 1. It's Limpopo number 2. So there is a lot of travel that does happen. A lot of to Limpopo, as an example, would be a lot of road travel, but Standard Bank travel with the discounts that we have can turn that into air travel, reducing the load on the roads. But at the same time, with that, we can increase travel to the other places that would otherwise not be at the top of the list, like your Cape Towns, as you mentioned, as well as the Durbans of this world.
We're speaking to Standard Bank about travel planning, and it's about the Standard Bank Travel, which has been launched to make traveling more convenient for you. More on this after this.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve. John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Government owns 88,000 buildings, not to mention 5 million hectares of land. So is there a way of solving both the problems? Understand that this isn't just aimed at trying to deal with the money that flows out on unnecessary rentals, but you see an enterprise and job creation opportunity.
So the contradiction exists that we spend 6 billion rand a year on private leases, yet we have government buildings sitting empty. And that's just simply because the state cannot afford.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Big questions, smart answers, real insight. The Masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja. Brought to you by Standard Bank Travel on 702.
It's the Masterclass, and we're speaking about Standard Bank Travel and all the goodies that they're offering. It's that time of the year. It's the Easter holiday season. And I'm sure that you're planning your trip. But planning can be a headache. And if you're like me and you don't like sitting down to plan your flights and then accommodation and then, having to plan excursions, I think that this is the product for you. Joining me in studio is Disibana Shika, and he's the head of product management at Standard Bank. I want to speak to you about what exactly goes into travel planning, because it's such a broad term, right? And we're saying we're planning, right? And I'm thinking accommodation and the like, but there's a lot that goes into actually making your trip a successful one where you actually get to enjoy what you are going out for.
Yeah, so there's a dynamic around whether you're doing a domestic travel or you're doing international. Domestic travel, we generally understand where we're going. And by domestic, I mean within the borders of South Africa.
Yeah.
We generally understand the destinations that we're going to. It's still South Africa. South Africans get along irrespective of where you come from. And you are able to navigate those areas. But it can get a bit tricky when it is international travel. And yes, booking flights is easy, especially on Standard Bank Travel. Accommodation is easy. Car rental is easy. But there's also other things that go in there. With certain countries, you may need a visa. So you need to, before you even decide on booking your flights, understand things like, what do I need to do to get a visa in that specific country? When do I need to make an appointment? How long may it take for me to get a visa? Do I even have a passport? You know?
So that's all factored in on Standard Bank Travel?
No, it's not factored in. But this is essentially what you need to think about
yes.
before you start thinking about any sort of travel and the planning that is involved with that.
Yes.
So by the time you book your travel, you need to ensure that you've researched the area that you're going to, what are the requirements for me to get to that place, and then come onto Standard Bank Travel, book your flights and whatever other pieces of itinerary that would be applicable to your trip.
All right. I've got a question here. Someone saying, does having any bundle Standard Bank account also cover travel insurance?
I've got a very good answer for that. Then that answer is yes.
Okay.
If you pay with any of our Standard Bank credit cards, we give you travel insurance.
Okay. All right. I think that listener is very, very happy and thrilled about that. I want to go through the different accounts and what the discounts would look like, because I would imagine they would vary. So let's go through some of the accounts and what people can expect in terms of Standard Bank Travel.
Yeah, we can go into that. So we've got, and we range from your entry level, which is like your gold type of credit cards, or MIMO level of a credit card, which comes with a check account as well. It is important, I emphasize, that you need to have both. That's what we call bundled. If you have the one and not the other, or if you're incorrectly bundled, you've got a gold check account but a prestige credit card, you're incorrectly bundled, and you could forfeit any sort of discount that would be due to you.
How would that happen? How?
So you have clients that would take up a gold check account or MIMO check account, but because they like the benefits on a prestige credit card, they would get that. The prudent thing to do is upgrade everything. You pay one fee. In fact, it's more economic to upgrade on both sides, your check account as well as your credit card.
Okay.
And you redeem the benefits for much more less. So when you do what I've mentioned previously or the otherwise, you will find yourself double paying.
Okay. And also you wouldn't benefit.
You would not
get
benefit.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
And we wouldn't want that.
we want our people to
Yes.
qualify. I mean, so we've given out quite a bit in terms of value. We believe our clients do love value. We've given, in the time that we've started with Standard Bank Travel, we started in November of 2025. We've given out just over 14 million in discounts. And 60% of those are repeat bookers.
Okay. So I'm sure, like me, many of the listeners want to benefit. They want to be in this number. So let's go through these accounts and what each discount.
So if
looks like.
if you've got a gold credit card or gold equivalent bundled account, you will get a 15% discount. That is the highest discount that you will qualify for.
Okay.
If you've got a prestige bundled account, you will then receive a discount of 20% maximum. Prestige would have the same discounts as our young professionals accounts. And then we've got our private banking bundled accounts, and those would receive a 25% maximum discount. And then we've got a signature, which is right above the private banking account. That signature bundled account receives the 40% off on the travel bookings.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I can see people, upgrading their accounts just for this. Right?
Please, we are here. We are ready.
Lisbana, just let's speak about what people can look out for on the app. So I'd imagine even on the app there'll be regular promotions, how you will promote that at this time of the year. It's a great time to book a flight right now, and I think that comes in handy, especially when you don't really know. You've got a trip coming in 3 months, 6 months. You're putting off booking, you know, and then you pop onto the app. Is that something that is there where you'll regularly get tips?
Precisely. So we had a couple of offers. We had a Black Friday offer that gave back a sum of money on your travel, guaranteed.
Okay.
In December, we had another campaign running that added 1,000 rand over and above your discount. So if you've got a 40% discount, we will add 1,000 rand over and above that discount. I'll give you an example. I did a booking for Mauritius during that period, and that booking came to about 4,000 rand in total. So
for how long?
For a return for about, I think about 7 days that I had put in. And it came back as about 4,000 rand. So we do give real value, and we do have another promotion running right now.
Okay.
And this is when your flight back competition that we're currently running.
Yes.
And what this means is that if you book your travel anytime between the 5th, if you have booked anytime between the 5th and the 31st of March, you will win that flight spend back up to a value of 3,000 rand.
Okay. So this is between now. So it's running now.
It's currently running. So get clicking.
And just explain it again. So I've booked already. I'm going to Cape Town. And what happens?
So you've booked already in this time period. You travel to Cape. You don't have to travel in this time period, by the way.
Okay.
You just have to book in this time period.
So it could be for a trip whenever.
It can be for whenever in the future.
Yes.
But it has to be booked during this time. So you have booked. We will then close the competition. We will do a lucky draw. When we do that lucky draw on the 30th of April, we will contact you and let you know that you have won your flight spend back up to the value of 3,000 rand.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think that's one to be on the lookout for if you are a Standard Bank client already. Talk to me about airport lounges, because that's a big incentive, right?
Of course.
And if you travel quite regularly, you want to enjoy the airport lounge. What does this, particularly with Standard Bank Travel, mean for enjoying how you enjoy the airport lounge?
So we offer airport lounge access to all of our Standard Bank credit card holders. And again, I go back to the whole bundled thing. So if you bundle, you definitely have a credit card. Even if you don't, although you will not qualify for Standard Bank Travel, you will have access to a lounge. We offer lounge access within the confines of South Africa at any of the airports. In fact, we've got a beautiful, beautiful lounge at OR Tambo called the Library Lounge. If you've ever been into it, which I encourage you to visit. We've got another beautiful lounge called the Fluent Lounge at Lanseria Airport. But over and above that, we give you access to over 1,300 lounges globally with our cards. So airport lounge access is something we do offer to our clients.
1,300.
That is correct.
That's a lot of lounges. Talk to me about whether you should be using your Standard Bank credit card to make these bookings. So would you have to, if you want to, cash in maybe on flights, would you have to book with a Standard Bank credit card?
You definitely have to book with a Standard Bank credit card to redeem the benefits. You are not obligated to do so. You can book with any of your Standard Bank cards. It could be your debit and your check card and the like, although it has to be your personal bank account's card, not your business bank account. Because you if you book with those, you would then be able to pay on the platform. The discount, however, is only eligible if you pay with your credit card.
And it must be your personal account.
Your personal, yes. And we obviously require that it be your credit card. Let's not be using people's credit cards.
Yeah, but you know what happens, right? Especially, I can imagine people already are calling, my friend, don't you have a Standard Bank account? I know that you've got a Standard Bank credit account. Help me there. All right.
On the other hand,
yes.
Also, if your friend is generous, your friend can book travel for themselves and yourself. We do not have a limitation as to who travels.
Okay.
So you can book for yourself, you can book for your husband, you can book for your friends and your family up to a volume of 9 people. On the platform, even though they're not Standard Bank clients.
Okay. And are there additional costs to this?
There aren't additional costs. The only additional cost would be the actual ticket. So we don't charge you a booking fee, which I believe you're referring to, per passenger. We charge you a booking fee per booking. So you can have 9 people there. we charge you one booking fee.
All right. We're speaking about Standard Bank Travel and just the benefits that you're getting from there. Of course, it's the Easter time, and you are most probably planning your next trip. If you're a Standard Bank client, this is great news for you. It's called Standard Bank Travel, and the head of product management at Standard Bank, Lisibana Shika, is in studio with me, breaking it all down. More on that after the headlines. Mbali Zamini is standing by. Mbali, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. What's in the news?
Well, Khomotso, a very good afternoon to you too. Professor Nicholas Crisp has been appointed as Acting Director General of the Health Department for 3 months. This has been confirmed by the department following the precautionary suspension of Sandile Buthelezi. Earlier this month, Buthelezi and 2 other officials were arrested and charged with fraud and theft of money allocated to the country by the Global Fund. Retired former Deputy National Commissioner Francina Vuma has told Parliament's ad hoc committee how former Minister Bheki Cele was allegedly part of a plot to kill her. Vuma says she received threats soon after raising the red flag about the 1 billion rand spent on renovating the Eskom towers. Vuma made the allegations before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is currently investigating allegations of police corruption. While the G7 group of nations says it is in support of the implementation and proactive measures to address oil supply issues, energy ministers from the group held a virtual meeting with the International Energy Agency yesterday to discuss the impact of the Middle East war on energy markets as well as supply. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at the stage in Centurion, there's bumper traffic on Old Joburg Road. This is between Hendrik Verwoerd and Littleton Road. There's also slow-moving traffic. That's if you're leaving the Joburg CBD. This is on the M2 westbound approaching Main Reef Road. Also traveling between Brakpan and Benoni. Slow-moving traffic on Rangeview Road between Dube and Tom Jones. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Ridge at Bears Nodia and the N1. Traffic lights also not working still in Lone Hill at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi, my name is Kamohelo Modise. Live in Pretoria. I started listening to 702 back in the years of John Robbie, Kolane Gwala, Eusebius Makaiza, and Azania Masaga. I love 702 because it's very informative with business as well as politics.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
For over 30 years, Bid Air Cargo has been keeping South Africa's supply chain moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's really, really urgent, oversized, or hazardous, when a shipment has to fly, we make it happen. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services, our promise delivers. Bid Air Cargo. Every kilo counts.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
So coming up on 702 at 3 o'clock is John Perlman. It's afternoon drive, and Dr. John will be driving with you between 3 and 6 p.m. Quite a bit on that show. And so remember to tune in. That is between 3 and 6 p.m.
If it's trending, timeless, or totally unexpected, it's unpacked on the masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja. Brought to you by Standard Bank Travel on 702.
It is our masterclass right here on 702 Afternoons. Welcome back. My name is Khomodzo Modise. I'm in for Relebogile Mabotja this afternoon. And we're speaking all things travel this afternoon. Standard Bank travel is what we're focusing on. And of course, it's around the benefits and the goodies that you get from Standard Bank travel. It is that time of the year where we're all planning, or many of us are thinking at least, of a little short left, as they say. And I do think that what's being offered here by Standard Bank Travel can really come in handy. There's a bit of breaking news actually on the television. Fly Safair is going to be hiking ticket prices. It's breaking on ENCA. This is due to soaring oil prices. A temporary surcharge will be added from tomorrow. And I mean, of course, this is in light of what's been going on in the Gulf, in the Middle East. And I suppose we were expecting it. We were expecting to see the effects of that oil price changing. But my guest this afternoon is Lisibana Shika. He's the head of product management at Standard Bank. Lisibana, I'm sure this is something that you are factoring in as well, something that you're considering, especially because I'm sure you're considering what goes into a flight price, the prices of flights.
Yeah, so essentially there's two components to a flight price. I think we normally just see that one cost at the end, but it's actually two components. Number one is the base fare. Number two is the airport taxes or charges or government charges that the airline might incur. The fuel hike, or rather let me say in the past, fuel surcharge used to be listed there as well, is no longer listed on its own. However, if there is to be, as the breaking news has outlined, is to be a surcharge, that would be added onto the base fare. We discount the base fare.
All right, so that does sound like a bit of good news, particularly if you are a Standard Bank client. Speak to me about the trends that you're seeing in travel currently. Are people doing a lot more domestic travel or international travel? I mean, factoring in just the economy and how people, the pokoto is not pokotaring for many people, so to speak. And the coins are not coining, as the youngins may be saying. What are the trends that you are seeing currently in terms of travel?
So we see a lot more domestic travel. I think it's with the appreciation that international travel does come at quite a price tag for a lot of people, and not many do afford it. However, we also find that the value of international travel is quite high, again, because the per ticket price is also high in itself. So you could say about 50% of the travel that we see is international. So our clients are definitely using a fair bit of both. In fact, we've seen a surge in international travel, especially since the discounts are so good. I mean, we've had inquiries where clients are asking, I want to book my travel. This is when I want to travel. Please tell me what activities can I do in order to qualify for a higher benefit? Do I need to have this kind of account? Do I need to spend or buy my fuel at an Astron, as an example?
Yes.
And the like. So there is a huge demand for travel of all sorts, domestic or international. But the desire thereof has then increased the fractions or the splits between the two.
Yeah. And I mean, is it for someone who's considering maybe international travel, what exactly do they have to do, to make it a little cheaper for themselves? I like that you used the Astron example because I know someone who only pours fuel at Astron because they're a Standard Bank customer. Is that something that is considered, that counts as well?
So getting a fuel at Astron essentially contributes to what you earn from our rewards program, which is UCount. So we do require you to have, at the minimum, a tier level of 3 on UCount, and you'd have tier 4 up to tier 5. And how you tier up has to do with the products that you have with us. It also has to do with where you spend. So getting your fuel back at Astron, and to just go into Astron a little bit, we are the only bank in the country that gives you up to 10 Rand back per litre when you get fuel at Astron. We've got a couple of other relationships with the likes of a Checkers, where you get up to 40% off. So whilst we're rewarding you for travel, we're rewarding you for the activities, the spend activities that you would have in order to qualify for the travel.
I hear you. I hear you. And speak to me about the convenience of it all. Really, it's about what it comes down to me is being able to find all of this in one place, all of this information in one place. And I think that's what you've done by putting it all on the app, right?
Everything is on our app. Standard Bank Travel in itself is on the app. The conditions that you need to meet to qualify are on the app. The rewards program that we have is on the app. In fact, it's quite dynamic. It shows you what you specifically need to do to tier up.
That's what I want you to tell me. So, because I'd imagine it goes up to about tier 6?
Tier 5.
Tier 5?
Yes.
And maybe someone is on a tier 1 and they want to get to tier 5 in order to maximize and cash in as best as they can. What do I have to do?
So it'll look at it'll vary per client.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example with myself. I'm currently at tier 4.
Okay.
And when I looked into it, to check what I need to do. Number one, I need to go and get my will with Standard Bank. That will give me a couple of tiering points. Number two, I need to get myself a Standard Bank Connect mobile SIM card. I did those two things. I expect to be on tier 5.
Okay. So those are just the things that will up you. But if you're on tier 1, there's a lot more that you have to do to get to tier 5.
There's a lot more that you still need to do. Yeah, but it's also quite intuitive. It's really easy activities where you spend. I mean, get your fuel at Astron, spend at Checkers. Have this type of account. Let it be bundled, and the like. It's easy activities that you have to partake in order to tier up.
And I'm sure you've been getting a lot of feedback from your clients about using Standard Bank Travel and their experience. What has the feedback been like?
The feedback has been quite good, especially on the discounts. I think South Africans really appreciate good value. They love having to not necessarily spend what they could have otherwise spent, because this goes into memories, right? And this is part of the value that we add. That 40% that you save on your travel can go into activities that you could partake in on your travel. Maybe some water sports, maybe sightseeing, access to Disneyland, and the like. Those funds go there. And that's memories for yourself, for your family or your loved ones, and the like. So that's the feedback that we receive.
And I must ask you about hidden costs. Because, I mean, this sounds great, and it sounds to me like you're selling me the most amazing thing. It sounds amazing. But are there any hidden costs? Should I be factoring in any costs if I am considering this?
So at Standard Bank, we believe in transparency in all of our offerings. And on Standard Bank Travel, whatever you see on the screen is exactly what you're going to pay. You are going to see what the cost of the flight is. We will have it in, if it's eligible for a discount, we will have it in red and cross it out. And then we will show you the discounted amount right below that, which obviously will be lower. But then we will show you what the booking fee is. Depending on whether it is domestic or international, the booking fees do vary. But I do emphasize that we charge you one booking fee per booking, which does not dictate how many travelers you can have on that specific booking, whereas with other platforms, you will note that you would pay a booking fee per traveler. So those are essentially the only costs that you will see. Nothing is hidden.
Okay, that's good to know. What are some of these clever ways that a traveler can stretch their budget? At this time, you are trying to think of ways to cut costs, of course, which is what you are suggesting. But also, you just want to stretch your budget, and maybe even try get as much out of your trip for little, or for as little as possible. So, what are some of the clever ways that one can go about stretching their budget for a trip?
So look, it depends on the specific airline. So airlines have got just over and above what we would offer you. They have got their own promotions from time to time in terms of how they price their airlines. And a trip, or rather a certain flight, is available up to 9 months prior. It's a rule of thumb that if you book, the earlier you book, the better your price. If you're the type of traveler that books a week before, the night before, you also should be ready to pay the premium that comes with booking that late. So it is quite important that you plan your travel, especially international travel, plan it months in advance. I do know that on domestic travel, we don't plan that much in advance, but domestic travel fares aren't as aggressive or unkind as you would see on the international side. So even booking 2 months prior should suffice on those. So it is important, again, to plan or book much earlier in advance so that you can stretch that rand, and over and above that, receive what we would give back to you as a discount.
All right, I am taking your calls and your questions. The number to dial is 011-883-0702. Alternatively, send me a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Have you used Standard Bank Travel, and how has it been for you? It would be really interesting for me to hear from those of you who have had that experience. And, what would it mean for you if you are the planner? I know that in our friendship groups, we've got that person that does all the planning, right? Who does all the preparing, and the rest of us just come. I'm very guilty of that. Just come to enjoy the trip. We send our money to that one person, and that person, we hope, is very, very savvy when using the money. So I want to hear from you. If you have used a Standard Bank Travel, get in touch with us. And if you are the type to plan, what does it sound like for you? It sounds like planner heaven, if you ask me. I mean, for me, it's really just having to go everywhere to book flights, to book accommodation. I'm running around. I often don't really, know where to start. And so this does sound like the answer really to many of my problems. Someone here is asking, is it easy to transact with Standard Bank once you are overseas? What happens if you can't transact as a Standard Bank client?
It is definitely easy to travel once you're overseas. However, Standard Bank, we value protecting you. So if you are going to travel overseas, we require that you inform us on our app. Again, everything is in there, that you would be traveling overseas. So you select a specific card that you desire to use while you're overseas. Give us the dates of when you would be traveling, so that when that international transaction comes in, we are able to not flag it, because you have told us that this would be you spending in that specific country at that specific time. So yes, it is quite easy to spend or transact while you are out of the country.
All right. Someone else wants to know, is there a minimum qualifying spend limit?
Yes, there is. I think I would call it, we actually use the word threshold, because I think limit speaks to the ceiling. Yes. So let's call it minimum threshold that we'd require you to spend. So, and I'll give it to you per bundle account. So on our gold equivalents, the spend threshold there, including Achiever, is 6,500. On your prestige and young professionals, the spend threshold there is 10,000 Rand. On private bank, you're looking at 20,000 Rand. And on signature, you're looking at 30,000 Rand.
Okay. All right. And I mean, I've often heard, I suppose people that are in arrears shouldn't really be traveling. But I mean, we all deserve a bit of joy, right? Mm-hmm. So does it matter if my account is in arrears and I want to travel? Can I still benefit from Standard Bank Travel?
Your account should essentially be in good standing. Mm-hmm. If it is in arrears, obviously there is a collections process that does take over in order to recover the outstanding funds. However, I think we just need to ensure that we're not painting the narrative that says that because you're booking on your credit card, you're going into debt. There are smart ways of using your credit card, and that include using your own money. So credit card does allow you to take your own money and put it in there and spend your own money as opposed to the bank. Of course, there are those rainy days where you do require to spend the bank's money, but you would have obviously been scored and qualified for the funds that the bank has availed to you, but a very prudent, very smart way, so that you can earn all of these benefits that we have. Take the money in your check account, put it in your credit card, and spend that.
I want you to, listen, I need this. I want to hear more on this, right? Because when you say credit card, we often think, I must be spending, I must be swiping from my credit card. Are you saying I should do a normal transaction? So a normal send 5, 10, 15, 25,000 Rand from my checking account, from my normal current account, and put it in my credit card and use that?
Yes, that is correct. I, in fact, do that myself. So when I go do my groceries at Checkers, or even when I book my travel on Standard Bank Travel, I move the money from my check account into my credit card so that I can meet that spend threshold that I told you about. Because I'm sure our listeners are sitting and thinking, oh my goodness, how do I spend 6,500? How do I spend 10,000? How do I spend 30,000? That sounds quite a lot. We actually do spend that money. If you go look at your check account and what you're spending your debit and check card, you do spend that money. If you move all of that card spend onto your credit card, you will earn more back, especially with our UCount points. You will be able to qualify for Standard Bank Travel. You will be able to qualify for a myriad of other benefits that we have. So it's quite easy.
Okay, I've got another question here. Someone here is saying, does it require different packages to qualify for this travel? Like, does it need to be on a private banking suite, or a normal package will qualify? I think we covered that. Please, let's go through that again.
I can repeat that, yeah.
Yes.
So we call them bundle accounts. I think listeners calling it a package, which is also not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a couple of them ranging from your entry level right up until your private or affluent suites. All of those packages qualify for a discount.
It's just that the discounts vary.
The discounts will vary. So as explained, the discount that you would get on your gold Nachiva equivalents will be 15%. On your prestige and young professionals will be about 20%. On private banking, you'll get 25%. And then on signature, you will get the 40% off.
All right. We're speaking about a Standard Bank Travel this afternoon on the masterclass, and really going through the benefits that you get from a Standard Bank Travel. It is that time of the year. Many of us are considering, at least if you've got, if you're able to take a quick short left, or go somewhere really nice and spend a day or two. And I suppose this does sound really enticing to me. It sounds like something that I would consider. I want to go through a traveler's checklist with you, Lisibana, because I think if you're sitting there at home, you're thinking, okay, I want to start. Where must I start? What do I do? How do I go about it? So let's go through some sort of a checklist. What should you begin with? What should you consider as you're planning this 2 nights away in, let me think about it. Magoebaskloof, maybe. Yeah, you like Magoebaskloof? I think Magoebaskloof is a nice one.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. So we're thinking, Khomozo's going to Magoebaskloof, and she's just listened to Lisibana, and it sounds really, really nice and enticing. Let's go through a checklist. What should she do?
Well, first of all, personally would advise somebody to start off with your budget. I think we've just spoken about money right now.
Yes.
We're going to Magoebaskloof. Let's make sure that we can actually afford Magoebaskloof.
Yes.
And I mean, I think we earlier spoke about the Easter travel, and let's assume you're traveling in Easter. The traffic is horrendous.
You don't want to spend 3, 6, 7, 8 hours
6 hours
with
on the road.
Lisibana, who's going to see Boma in Polokwane.
And I block that toll booth because my car doesn't work. Now I have to reverse. Now everybody has to reverse.
Yeah. So we don't want that.
So we don't want that.
Yes.
So first of all, make sure that you can afford the travel. Second, to make sure that you do have your travel documents in order, and whatever cards or bank cards that you'd want to use for payment. Because I would imagine if we're talking Standard Bank Travel, you're going to book a flight to Polokwane, you're going to land in Polokwane, you're going to hire a vehicle from one of our partners, which is Avis, and you'll get a 35% off on that, and then you would then drive off to the hotel or lodge that you would have booked in the mountains, lovely mountains with the tall trees of Magoebaskloof. So all of that needs to surely be accounted for. In the 6 hours you will arrive. You would have arrived, you would have been comfortable being checked into your Magoebaskloof hotel. You also need to make sure that you've got your electronics set up. I mean, we love taking or recording our travel experiences, creating those memories. Make sure that you've got all your electronics in order. You've got space to save all those videos, all those photos that you're going to be taking. We obviously would pack travel-worthy types of clothes in order to do that. But that's essentially those bits and pieces over and above the fact that you need to ensure that you're healthy and that the safety of the place that you're going to is somewhat guaranteed. There are obviously areas like that have malaria and the like, that where you might need to take malaria medication to ensure that you don't get sick. But that's essentially all that you would need to prep. Yeah.
And I mean, currently on the market, there's so much that's available in terms of travel products. Why should people choose Standard Bank Travel?
So with Standard Bank Travel, we give you ease, right? And I think the great thing about what we have is that everything is integrated seamlessly into one app. Without this type of an experience, as I mentioned earlier, you might need to go into an airline's platform. You look at one airline, they don't have the route that you want to travel. The prices are too high. We've just heard one airline would be hiking their prices, and they're like, but we have all of that in one platform. If one airline happens to hike their fares, you will see it on our platform. You'll be able to compare it with another airline's fares. Over and above that, irrespective of what the fees that you get from the airlines, we give you those discounts. And I'll repeat, for South Africa, that's a very big thing. We love our discounts. We love our rewards cards.
Yeah.
You know, so we make this quite a seamless journey for you, and we make that planning process much more easier. On our travel platform, Homotso, you are able to save your travelers' details, the people that you know, your co-travelers' detail, the people that you normally travel with. You don't have to enter their names every time you travel. So that makes it easy. If you have a group of friends and you guys travel all the time, their names would be there and you happen to have the honors of being the planner. You just click on their names and we populate their details onto the travel itinerary.
All right. That was our masterclass on Standard Bank Travel. Lisibana Shika, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Homotso. It's always a pleasure being here.
All right. Lisibana is the head of product management at Standard Bank Travel. And of course, that was our masterclass. Ready for your next adventure? Standard Bank Travel makes booking, paying for, and managing flights easier than ever. All straight from the Standard Bank banking app. Enjoy up to 40% off flights for friends and family, plus complimentary travel insurance and lounge access when you book with your qualifying credit card. Download the Standard Bank banking app and book your next flight via Standard Bank Travel. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Part of the 702 family.
My name is Ephraim Morobela. I'm from Midrand. I'm one of the 702 listeners. What I enjoy is different people's perspectives as well as presenters who give a different perspective with regard to what is happening all over the world.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Did you know that you have the power to ensure your daughter is fully protected from cervical cancer when she grows up? Yes, protecting a daughter from cervical cancer is absolutely possible. And all that you need to do is ensure that your daughter gets the HPV vaccine at the age of 9. The HPV vaccine gives your daughter the best possible protection against cervical cancer and can prevent her from becoming part of the statistics. This message is brought to you by the Department of Health.
702 and Momentum bring you the series edition on 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja. Unpacking life's real conversations.
We actually conducted research. Okay, the research was called The Success Women Want, and we conducted this research in 2025. And in that research, it highlighted, the report actually highlighted that confidence is one of the top predictors of success. And yet women, as we know, are not as confident in the workplace as men. So the She Owns a Success campaign is actually a campaign that empowers women to boldly claim their accomplishments and achievements. It's a campaign that we've been running for 7 years, to just provide women with the necessary tools to enable them on their journey to success.
Don't miss the series edition, brought to you by Momentum. Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. on 702.
702 Podcast.
On PrimeMediaPlus.com.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This was 702 Afternoons with me, Khomotso Modise. I've been in for Relebogile Mabotja. I'm with you until Friday. So thank you so much for your contributions, your WhatsApps and your calls. All the conversations that we've had this afternoon are available on the Prime Media Plus app. They're also available on 702's YouTube page. So you can go back there and listen to those. I really hope that you enjoyed the show on this Wednesday and that we made the Wednesday, or the midweek blues as I call them, I hope we made them a little easier for you. John Perlman is up between 3 and 6 p.m. For now, though, it's goodbye. And thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
This is EWN.
FlySafair introduces a surcharge as Middle East conflict rages on, and Nicholas Crisp appointed as the acting health DG. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. FlySafair has announced the introduction